It makes me hungry when I look at it, and visitors tell me the same thing.
At first glance, the bread in this painting looks good enough to eat. A bit of research reveals that its backstory is not such a pretty picture.
It was painted during the Great Depression at a time when many people were hungry, when people were on bread lines.
The piece is part of a current exhibition at the University of Vermont's Fleming Museum, entitled Eat, the Social Life of Food. The show examines the relationship between people and food across cultures.
So we were looking for something that would draw across the collections, draw culturally, and then across different types of objects in the collections.
As with any exhibit, each piece on display is meticulously researched by the show's curator. Or, to be more accurate, by one of the show's 19 curators. It wasn't an easy task, especially because these curators were UVM students who had never curated a museum exhibit before. Oh, and they had one semester to put it together.
Our job was to take those objects and create a story.
We got to choose an object, and then we had to go look for background information and write out, the caption that goes beneath it in the exhibit. So a lot of going through books and internet articles and looking for info. I actually had to contact someone over in the Philippines.
The Introduction to Museum Studies class is a collaboration between the Fleming Museum and the Department of Anthropology.
We're really deliberate about teaching them how to write labels, this nitty-gritty stuff. Giving them opportunities to sample layout, giving them opportunities to look at and critique online and brick and mortar exhibits. So all of that practice allows them to build their own vision of what the exhibit will be.
A lot of what we learned about was how each piece is constructed within the exhibit, about how much text you should have with a piece to make sure that the viewer gets enough information, but at the same time isn't bogged down, because the flow of an exhibit is really important. Otherwise, if people can't move through it and get all the information they need, then they won't take what we're trying to explain through the exhibit, and they might just move on to the next room.
Jeffrey Matthews took the class and then spent the summer as an intern at the Fleming, helping to set up the exhibit.
And I got to learn little tidbits about all these different cultures, about how food works within their society and how food works in comparison to how we view food versus how important food might be to them, or just the idea of sitting down for a meal, or the idea of celebration through food. And there's all these different cultural aspects which food really exemplifies, because it's a universal thing, but at the same time it's so unique to every single culture.
The students not only spent time researching and preparing their specific piece for the exhibition, they also spent time working in groups, figuring out ways to expand the exhibit beyond the walls of the Fleming. As a result, there are a number of objects and images from other UVM departments on display, alongside some more unusual features.
We split them into groups and we said, hey, what are some ideas for community outreach? What are some ideas for interactives to put in the exhibit? What do you want to do with the online component?
The ideas the students came up with not only bring technology into the exhibit, they invite viewers to become part of the show as well.
We have an iPad within the exhibition where people can share their food stories, and we're also asking people from anywhere actually to email us photographs of food through Instagram, Twitter, and through an email account.
Those photos are put into rotation on a monitor in the exhibit, where they will stay for the duration of the show. As for the students, class is over, but they're still on campus. Some, like Matthews, are planning to continue museum studies.
During this class, it really helped me to look at all the detail work that goes in museums that you never really understand until you're behind the scenes and you see what's actually going on in the creation of an exhibit.
And now, the EAT exhibit at the Fleming Museum is ready for viewers to dig in. In Burlington, I'm Rebecca Gallen with Across the Fence.